I'll come with the solicitor's office. Mum, I said. Mum put spoon after spoon of sugar into her coffee and stirred hard. I eyed the crack in King George's head as I pulled the pan of toast from under the grill, the slices smoking. Eat and then go to bed, Mother, Hannah ordered. You're no use to anyone knackered. She gave Mum a stern look and stared out of the window holding her cup, the bright red ends of her long blonde hair nearly dipping in her tea, her unhappy reflection on the rain-speckled pane. Everyone went on about how pretty she was, but all I mostly saw was her in a strop. But right then I guessed exactly what she was thinking, staring out of the window, willing Dad to be back. I scraped the burnt parts of the slice of toast with a knife, covering the chipped sink in black bits. I gave a piece to Mum and she nibbled the corner like a distracted mouse. I traced the crack across the surface of my plate with my finger, staring at their spider's web-thin lines. Bum. My throat felt dry as a toast. My voice came out all quiet and sort of broken. It'll be okay, won't it? When they realise they've made a mistake, he'll be released, won't he? Of course, said Mum. A stupid mistake. She stirred her coffee even harder. I don't have to go to school today, do I? I said. There was no way I could face it. Can I stay here in case there's any news? Up to you, love. Yes. If you want. If that's what you want. Mum's face crinkled in a huge yawn. I might just have a lie down after all. She gave each of us a kiss and went upstairs. Hannah and I looked at each other, but I didn't know what to say, and then the doorbell rang. Josh, I could tell from the way he pressed the bell, the match of the day style rhythm. So I told Hannah I'd get it, and then Josh started talking through the letterbox like he does when he's nervous. Friday the 11th of November, 7:54 a.m. Because he always knows where you are with dates. He told me once, dates and times. Mum said he probably had a bit of obsessive compulsive disorder, which she said might be the way of him coping with his mum leaving and his dad being a drinker. Whatever the reason, he knew about my dad being taken away. He'd seen how the bonfire party had ended, Mum asking everyone to leave like that. He'd seen the car of strangers waiting in the lane. I opened the door and Josh stood there, bag of crisps in hand and a thick stripy scarf Mum gave him wound around his thin face and ears. His hair stuck up all over like he'd been out for hours, not the 15 minutes it took him to walk from his house to mine. He stood in the doorway and then offered me a salt and vinegar crisp. We stood there crunching. Then the next minute, Sasha was standing there too with her perfect black hair in her rainbow bobble hat and her black puffer jacket and her woolly pink mittens, all full of questions. Is your dad back, Nathan? What's going on? I told them the story as much as Mum had told me, all except the breaking the official secrets act part. I couldn't bring myself to tell them about that. They won't say why they've arrested him. Oh God, Nathan. Sasha wrapped her arms around me. I could smell her vanilla kind of smell in her hair, which made my eyes started to sting. So I said I had to help my mum with something and I wasn't going to school. Not going to school? Repeated Josh, like it was the very idea went against all Einstein's theories. But it's Friday. We're watching a film in the hall. Then there was a footy match. Us versus the teachers, he added, like it was the Battle of Britain or something. Do you think Nathan really cares about that? Sasha tutted to him. Look, we've got to go, Nathan, or we'll miss the bus. She gave me another hug. But we'll be round straight after school. Straight after. I said okay and closed the door. Text you soon, called Sasha through the letterbox. Then they were gone. I stood there with my back against the door a while, not able to move. I didn't care. I wished I could go into school with them and watch the film and play the football against the teachers as if nothing had happened. But everything was very different now. I felt it pressing down on me. Dad's arrest, the weight of the secret promises from him, follow Lily's trail, don't tell anyone, Careless talk costs lives. Aunt Hilda's Second World War poster shouted at me from the opposite wall. I went into the front room. Hannah was dressed in tight black jeans and a leather jacket and boots up to her knees, and her eyes were all done in black, and she dumped a tray down on the coffee table, a mug of hot chocolate, toast smeared in butter and without any burnt bits, an egg in an egg cup, and a cellar of salt. Eat that, she ordered. I'm going out for a bit. On the bus. To see Gavin. I'll be back soon. You'll be all right. If Mum wakes and she needs anything, or she wants me to look after you, or there's any news, you just tell her to ring me straight away. Okay? I tried to smile. Thanks, but I don't need a babysitter. I know, baby brother. She gave me a punch in the arm and tried to smile. She opened her mouth to say something more, then closed it. She nodded and left. I cracked the egg on the table and heaped a piece of the shell at the edge of my plate. The yolk burnt my mouth, but I suddenly realised how hungry I was and finished a lot. I sat and sipped my hot chocolate. Hannah had put loads of sugar in it, just the way Dad made it. I had to help Dad, not mope about feeling sorry for myself. My mind was in the message at the bottom of the bucket. Some woman called Lily Kenley had made a trail. But why? I said loud. Why go to all that trouble? What had her trail got to do with my dad anyway? What was at the end? An X marks the spot and a treasure chest? An explanation that would be enough. The truth was about what was going on. My mind whirred. Think literally and laterally. Concentrate, I told myself. You work out the last ones. You can do the same with this one. That strum thing. The word seems familiar somehow. I'm sure I've heard of it before. Strum, I said to Bones. Strum, strum, strum. He woofed and licked my buttery fingers. Dad's voice flashed into my head. Choose a book, Nate. Choose a strum book. 1 to 10. I was on my feet. That was what Dad called them, wasn't it? I went quickly back upstairs, my brain racing the whole way. Mum's bedroom door was slightly open and I saw her sleeping inside. I tiptoed past and climbed the spiral staircase towards the attic library again. Dad read them to us when we were younger, Bones, I whispered to him as he shuffled up the stairs after me. He called them the strum books, and I'm sure they were kept up here. I got to the attic and managed to switch the lamp on and stood gazing at the shelves and shelves of old books. There were hundreds of things, thousands maybe. More books here probably than an entire village library before the council closed it down. The whole of one wall was covered in them, right to the ceiling, with a doggy-looking stepladder at one end and the RAF mannequin looking serious at the other, like he was on guard duty. How am I supposed to find them in this lot? Bones looked at me mournfully and sneezed. I couldn't even remember the colour of the strum books. It was that many years ago since I'd seen one. It had been back during the time of one of our monthly checks on Aunt Hilda's house, some rainy Saturday or other, when Hannah and I couldn't play in the garden, and Dad read to us instead. Where first, Bones? Left or right? Bones yawned and lay down on his side on the tatty rug. Left it is then. I clicked on the lamp and started to search, bending double to see the very bottom shelf, one book at a time, my eyes picking out the titles on the spine in the dimly lit row. Where's lots of doggy treats they are? I called quietly to Bones and he licked his mouth with a big pink tongue. Dad had always said the strum books were valuable and they should treat them really carefully. Maybe he already knew about Lily's trail back then. Maybe that's why he was so fussy about the strum books, and why he had never told me anything about it until now. I couldn't help feeling hurt at the idea of Dad keeping secrets from me. A spider dropped towards us on its thread like it was trying to listen in. Cloud shadows scuttled over the floor from the skylight. Sleet splattered the glass. I eyed the stepladder and hoped I'd find a book on the lower shelves. Heights weren't my strong point. A triangle of weak sunlight jolted like an arrow from the net curtains as I continued searching. No luck on the bottom row. Next shelf then. By row 5 I was on my tiptoes. It was taking me ages and I had a crick in my neck from stretching. In the distance I heard the church bells and the fingers seemed to flick along the books in time to the clang. 11 o'clock already. There was a faint boom like a cannon firing for Remembrance Day. I realised today was the 11th of November and they'd be having a service in town, and then a bigger one on Sunday. At school, Sasha and Josh would be doing a 2-minute silence for people who had died in the war. I carried on my search, and I was near the end of the 5th shelf when bones started pouring at me and weaving through my legs, and I lost balance and grabbed a book to try and stop myself going down. But they came out of the shelves and I started falling and I ended up on my back as books clattered down around me. Bones sat on my chest and licked my face. His tail banged on the floor, sending up spirals of dust. "It's not lunchtime yet," I said, pushing him off and getting to my feet. I started picking up the spilled books and shoving them back, but as I did so I saw another book tucked behind, pressed flat against the wall. I tugged at it, a fat note with a old smell and a mottled grey font. I flicked the first page. There was something written on the inside of the cover, and as I read it, I stumbled backwards into the pile of newspapers. Lily Kenley, born 21st of the 3rd, 1902. "Lily," I hissed to Bones, and I gave him a confused yelp. Lily again! There was something else written below her name. The handwriting was hard to read because the letters were all scratchy and blotchy, like they'd been done too fast. "I have to save my dad, if only." I brought the book closer to make out the letters. "If only I can break the code." Weird. What was that about? What did this Lily person, have to save her dad from? I wondered. Then there were pages and pages of letters with pencil on it, faintly lined paper. Close, spaced lines of writing, only not words. They were all in groups of 3 capital letters. Lists and lists of them, each crossed out with a single neat line, going on for pages and pages. I wonder if Dad knew about this notebook. I'd found it pretty much by fluke, and no idea what any of it meant or whether it was part of the trail. But it was Lily's, so it could be important, right? I pushed the notepad to where I'd found it again and carried on scanning along the shelf for the strum books. I fumbled for the stepladder and went up a couple of runs, my head on the level of the 6th shelf. I stared along the cramped-in shelf spine, then got back to and shifted the ladder along and climbed up again. I stopped. There was a group of little books with the same kind of dark blue spine with gold writing, and when I counted quickly there were 10. I pulled the first one out and read the flaky gold lettering on the cover. "Stories to read under moonlight." My mouth broke into a giant-sized grin. Stories to read under moonlight. Strum! I know they were here somewhere. Volume 1, Treasure Island. Volume 2, Robinson Crusoe. Volume 3, Sherlock Holmes. Volume 4, The Secret Garden. But which of the 10 books was I supposed to be looking for? Strum. O-V-O. Volume 5, Fantastical Fairy Tales. Volume 5? Was that it? I went over to the lamp and thumbed slowly through the pages and their detailed coloured drawings. There were hideous trolls under bridges and witches on broomsticks and goblins with sharp fingernails and giant swiping spiked clubs. There was a ghost in the well story Dad had told me and Hannah. I got to the last page. The end. So, what now? Strum, V-O. I tried to think of all the things that O-shaped could be. It might have been a letter or a zero. I thought about the circle of the well and the round battered bucket. Maybe it was a symbol of something in a picture. Is it this? I used my thumb and finger to make a circle round my eye, like I'd been watching bones through a keyhole, and he woofed a bit at me. This? I curled myself up into a round shape on the dusty rug, hugging my knees, and he gave me a whine. This, maybe? My mouth made a round, scarred shape of him, and he barked in a disturbed sort of way and went to sit under the gramophone table. I leafed through the book again, and when I looked closely, I noticed that each picture had an extra tiny part of caption. Plate A, said the first. Plate B, the second. Something to do with the way that it was printed in the olden days, maybe. I flicked forwards fast, my fingers tingling. If the V meant for volume 5, might the O be for the letter of the plates? Plate D, vote plate F for plate JKL. I quickly turned the page, and there at last was plate O. They followed the breadcrumb trail, but found themselves at the end. There was a drawing of a scared-looking Hansel and Gretel in the woods, bent to the ground, while birds circled overhead. I was excited but confused too, worried, nagged at me. Had I found the next clue? Was it just a picture and a caption? How was I supposed to work it out? Bones whined and stared at me, licking his muzzle. In a minute, greedy, I told him. I'm thinking. Nathan? I heard Mum's tired voice calling. I quickly hid the strum book in my pocket and went back downstairs, Bones clamouring behind me. Tell nobody, not even her. The poster blared at me from the wall as I went into the front room to find her. Mum stood there, bleary-eyed and still at the dressing gown, her face all pinched up. She peered at the clock on the mantelpiece. God, how did it get to nearly lunchtime already? Are you okay, love? Fine, I said, as casually as I could, lying to Mum all these secrets I felt squirm. Have there been any phone calls? She asked. No. Mum grinned. Mum looked grim and snatched up the phone handset. Then I'm ringing Mr. Edwards right now to find out what's going on. She went into the kitchen and I heard her talking to Dad's solicitor, loud and getting louder. But when will they tell us exactly what he's supposed to have done? Paused. I know the law's been toughened, but while waiting in hell is hell. Well, as soon as you know anything, Sam, please. No fresh news, said Mum, coming back into the front room. She thumped a couple of cushions straight and tossed them back on the settee. There were noises at the front door, and Hannah walked in. Dad? She asked straight away. No fresh news, said Mum, again, like she was a recording. They're still questioning him. She moved over to Hannah and stroked her hair. Hannah looked at me, then looked away. I've got a journalism assignment to do for college, she mumbled and went upstairs. Mum wandered into the kitchen and I heard her yank open the freezer door. Mr. Edwards says he wants a meeting with us this afternoon, she said, at his office on Fitzroy Street. A meeting with the solicitor? Sounded a bit heavy. I tried to push away my panic and focus on the clue. I got the strum book out of my pocket and stared hard at plate O. They followed the breadcrumb trails but found themselves at the end. There was a sound of rummaging and tinkering ice from the kitchen, and then Mum asking me what I fancied for lunch, but I hardly heard her. An idea started forming in my head. I went over to the framed map on the wall by the Welsh dresser. It was a faded black ink thing, dated 1800 and something. A map of the area. Spag bol or fish pie? Mum was calling. There was Foxglove Cottage and Brennan Wood behind it. There was a winding track through the trees, the one that started at the end of Aunt Hilda's garden. Nathan? Fish pie? No, spaghetti. I peered at the label written on the path. The breadcrumb trail. I tapped the words with delight on the map. Went all wonky, so the map went all wonky. Couldn't help laughing to myself. The breadcrumb trail? I should have remembered it before. That's what Dad said Aunt Hilda called the path through Brennan Woods. We went on. Only people who lived around here for years would know that. There was no signpost or anything. It couldn't just be a coincidence. It had to be something to do with it. I traced the path with my finger. Trail's end, it said, where the line met the road. Lily's next clue had to be along that path. Now all I had to do was go out, and Mum came in and quickly shoved the strum book behind the cushions. It's in the microwave, she said. Won't be long. I need to go out, I said. Mum glanced at her watch. Where to? Just a walk, I said. I hated lying to her, but I was dying to get onto the breadcrumb trail and find the next clue. We've to set out for the solicitors at 1:30. I want you to eat now, thank you. There's snow forecast for this afternoon, she said. Like if I didn't get some food inside me before then, I was doomed. Who ever heard of snow in early November? She mumbled. I sidled towards the door, pulling on my coat, slipping the little strum book from under the cushion into my pocket. I'm not hungry yet. I had a big breakfast. You're eating first, Mum said, in her absolutely no argument voice, like as long as she kept us stuffed with food, everything was going to be all right. I stomped into the kitchen and watched the plastic tray turn in the microwave. Round and round it went. Thoughts spun in my head. The words Lily had scribbled in her notebook. I have to save Dad. If only I can break the code. What did that mean? Round and round and round. The microwave beeped, making me jump. I took the tray out and peeled the plastic lid, roasting my fingers on the steam. I slapped the whole thing on the plates. I jabbed a fork into the runny sauce, stabbing out strands of spaghetti and eating them first, as fast as I could without burning my mouth. Then, hearing Mum go upstairs, I shoved the rest in Bones' bowl before he drooled himself to death, and he chomped it down in 10 seconds flat, splattering bits of mince and red blobs all over. I opened the back door as quietly as I could, breathing in the cold damp air. The light was murky, as if it was going dark already. Mist reached across the garden, and the grass was spiky with frost. The well crouched on the overgrown lawn. The trees huddled at the far end where the woods began, like they were sharing secrets. I zipped up my coat and went quickly past the tool shed, past the well, past the air raid shelter, heading for the gap in the hedge with a half-rotten wooden gate, the gate I had been through loads of times with Dad. What was I going to find? What could there be that I wouldn't have noticed before? Whatever it was, I had to be there and back before we needed to go to solicitors, so I had to get moving. I checked my watch, then started out along the breadcrumb trail.